Middle-aged Sagittarius still wants to be loved and cared for. There are people who enter middle age with a satisfied smile. But there are also souls, like Sagittarius, who still carry in their eyes the sunlight of their 20s. They have lived a full part of life with grand journeys, have traveled, have loved, have been disappointed, and stood back up as if they had never fallen. And yet, when the evening light begins to fade, when all the noise settles, deep in their heart, there is still a gentle emptiness. Not from a lack of freedom, not from a desire for more adventures, but from something very simple, to be loved, in a kind and sincere way. Do not mistake a middle-aged Sagittarius for someone who needs no one. They are warriors who have walked through storms, but still long for a gaze that follows them in life's quiet moments. They don't demand to be spoiled like a child, but they deeply need to be understood, with the heart of someone mature. In today's video, you will join me, a companion on the astrological path, to discover why. In middle age, Sagittarius still longs to be loved and cherished. Not because they are weak, but because they are mature enough to understand this. Love is not a chain. It is the most beautiful form of freedom that one person can give to another. And if you are a Sagittarius, or love a Sagittarius, whisper to yourself, or write it below this video: I am ready to receive true love for the rest of my life. Commenting is not just an affirmation, but a way to connect with the vibrations that are quietly guiding you to where you truly belong. 1. Sagittarius, the traveler. Who never grows old. There are people who are born carrying an invisible vow to the sky. Never stop walking, never stop searching, never settle. Sagittarius is just like that. They are protected by Jupiter, the planet of philosophy, expansion, and growth, from the moment they open their eyes to the world. With the symbol of the centaur, Sagittarius enters life as a warrior bearing both wild instincts and a spiritual yearning. Their childhood is often filled with restless questions. Who am I and where do I truly belong? Their youth is a series of endless journeys across maps, in their minds, and within their souls. But the miracle is this. Even as time sprinkles silver into their hair, their gaze still sparkles like the first time they touched the world. They don't grow old in the way people expect. They don't become weary, rigid, or withdrawn. On the contrary, for Sagittarius, middle age is a new doorway, where they begin a deeper journey into themselves. Why is that? Because Sagittarius is a mutable sign. That means they are always evolving, always changing to adapt and grow. When youth comes to an end, they don't cling to it. They accept, they learn, they open their hearts. And they continue the journey, not to discover the world this time, but to rediscover themselves. Others may see them as lonely. But Sagittarius is never afraid of being alone. Others think they are too dreamy. But it is those very dreams that have become the guiding fire for countless lost souls. In middle age, Sagittarius still loves sunsets like they did in their 20s. They can still sit for hours just watching a cloud drift by. Still cry when they hear an old song. And still quietly wish for someone gentle enough to understand this. Inside them, there is always a child, longing to be heard, to be trusted, and to be loved without having to hide their tenderness. The universe created Sagittarius as a gift. A soul that never stops moving, but also never stops being moved by beauty. If you are walking alongside a Sagittarius, please remember, they don't need someone to hold them back. They just need a heart wide enough to walk beside them, and a shoulder soft enough to return to, when their travels have quieted down. 2. Middle age, the turning point of innocence. When you pass your 40s, 50s, something inside you begins to change. Not the slowing of the body, not just the fine lines at the corners of your eyes, but a deep shift within your soul. For Sagittarius, This is when a great cycle of their life begins to close. The cycle of youth, where they chased questions, dreams, and beliefs that were sometimes still fragile. In astrology, this stage is called the second Saturn return, often occurring between ages 44 and 59. Saturn is the planet of lessons, discipline, and maturity. When this planet completes its orbit, every soul is faced with itself, with no more illusions, no more running. For Sagittarius, this is the time they begin to understand something profound. Not every journey needs a map. Not every dream lies out there. Some dreams are waiting quietly within. In middle age, Sagittarius becomes more contemplative but never dull. They begin to write, to reflect, to have deep conversations with those who vibrate on the same frequency. They may withdraw, but only to be reborn. Like an arrow drawn back, only to fly farther, more precisely. The turning point of innocence is when they realize love does not come from outer glamour. It comes from presence. From a gentle gaze. From a touch that says, I see you. From a simple sentence, I understand you, even if you don't say a word. Middle age does not take away Sagittarius's innocence. On the contrary, it makes that innocence more mature, calmer, and deeper. It is when one glance can speak a whole life. When one smile can heal an unspoken wound. If you are at this threshold and carry the soul of a Sagittarius, remember, you do not have to stop dreaming, stop loving, or stop hoping, just because someone says you are too old. Because middle age, for you, is the most beautiful season. Where your heart has lived enough to know what is true and what is fleeting. And is finally brave enough to open again, one more time. Free Sagittarius and the instinct to be loved and cared for. There is something few people understand about Sagittarius. Behind that strong, independent, always cheerful exterior, lies a heart that is easily hurt. They don't say it. They don't ask for it. But they deeply feel the absence of one seemingly simple thing, gentleness. No matter how many ups and downs they've gone through. A middle-aged Sagittarius still longs to be cared for. Not in a dependent way. But with the desire for someone to truly see them, not just the one who always seems fine. But the human being who just needs to be heard. Inside them, there are always two parts coexisting. One part is the warrior, unafraid of storms, needing no support. But the other is the child still waiting for someone safe enough to lean on without fear of judgment. Astrology calls this the mutable fire nature of Sagittarius. They are never in a fixed emotional state. They change, evolve, and always live with an open heart. And because their heart is always open, they are more vulnerable than anyone else. When Sagittarius says, I'm fine, they may be screaming inside. Hold me, ask again, care a little more. Middle-aged Sagittarius no longer dreams of cinematic love. They need a simple love. A cup of tea already made in the morning. A hug after a tiring day. A glance that says everything without words. Letting them know they are loved, not for being perfect, but for being exactly who they are. If you're loving a Sagittarius at this age, please don't forget to care for them with small gestures. Because it's those seemingly trivial things that reach the deepest places in their heart. And if you are a Sagittarius, don't be ashamed that you still want to be loved like a child. It's not weakness. It is courage, the courage to admit you still need affection. Still need to be comforted, even as a grown adult. And if this part makes you feel seen, whisper to the universe with an affirmation. I deserve to be loved the way my heart longs for. The universe hears you. Always. For the contradictions of loving a Sagittarius. Loving a Sagittarius, especially when they've reached middle age, is to love a living paradox. Someone who can walk alone through countless seasons, yet still longs for a hand to hold on the most ordinary days. They want freedom, but also want to belong. They can't stand being tied down, but they also cannot live without deep connection. This is the greatest contradiction of a middle-aged Sagittarius, and also what makes them so irresistibly attractive and incredibly difficult to grasp. In astrology, Sagittarius is directly opposite Gemini, a symbol of duality and inner dialogue. This makes Sagittarius live in constant tension between two opposing forces. On one side, the desire for adventure, discovery, and expansion. On the other, the longing for someone deep enough to make them stay, without losing themselves in the process. Give me space, but don't leave me alone. That is the quiet voice not everyone is sensitive enough to hear. Loving a Sagittarius means accepting sudden silences. It means understanding that some days they will retreat into their own world. Not out of anger or resentment, but to realign the path of their soul. They don't do it to test your love. They do it so they don't lose themselves, which, to them, is just as sacred as love itself. You may see them laugh, talk, and be cheerful with the whole world, but sometimes, they're simply trying to fill a void they can't even name. And in those moments, they need someone who doesn't ask too many questions. Just someone who is there. If you love a Sagittarius, don't try to keep them with the ropes of control. Keep them with the invisible thread of trust. Because strangely enough, when they feel free, Sagittarius won't leave. They will stay, willingly, fully, and more faithfully than anyone else. And if you're a Sagittarius struggling with the contradictions within yourself, please don't blame yourself. You are not confused. You are simply being who you are. A complex, beautiful, and deeply honest soul. A message from the universe. When you've lived long enough and experienced enough, you realize some things don't need to be explained. They are simply signs. A feeling. A gentle vibration in your heart. That is how the universe speaks to you. For Sagittarius, those signals come quietly. A recurring dream. A number appearing again and again. A song that unexpectedly plays right when you feel most lost. And in every small detail, the universe is whispering. You are not alone. You are being guided. You can still love one more time in a healthy, deep, and true way. Astrology teaches us. In middle age, the fifth house, the house of love, creativity, and pure joy, often reawakens. Not to relive youth, but to understand and love yourself more fully than ever before. This is the time to sit still. To listen to your heart not just with logic, but with tenderness. You might write a letter to yourself. Or sit by candlelight and whisper. I deserve a kind love, no longer a one-sided effort. Meditation, journaling emotions, or simply spending 5 quiet minutes each morning breathing deeply. These seemingly small acts are your way of sending signals back to the universe. And when you begin to heal, you will be surprised at the new connections that begin to appear. Not loud. Not rushed. But the right person, at the right time, at the right frequency. If you're hearing these words and feel something stirring inside, right below this video, I open my heart to true love. Not for anyone else to see, but so you yourself can see. You are ready. The universe never forgets anyone. Sometimes it's just waiting for you to be still, so you can hear the real calling from within yourself. 6. Loving a middle-aged Sagittarius, a true blessing. There are gifts the universe doesn't give too early, because they need time to ripen. And one of those gifts is the love of a Sagittarius in middle age. When they were younger, They loved like an arrow shot, strong, intense, and without looking back. But at this age, when the journeys have been long enough, the wounds deep enough, and the lonely nights too many, the love they give you is no longer lightning. It is a quiet prayer. I choose you, every day, with awareness and gratitude. Loving a middle-aged Sagittarius means loving someone who is no longer blindly optimistic, yet still carries light in their eyes. Someone who has been disappointed, but still believes. Who has been left behind, but has never stopped giving. They do not love to fill a void. They love to expand life with you, in the very way Jupiter, their ruling planet, has taught them from the beginning. Love is a sacred adventure. They won't shower you with sweet words, but they will remember you like your coffee without sugar. They won't ask, "What are you thinking?" but they'll notice you're sad, just from a glance. They will give you space, yet always remain, if you need them. They won't suffocate you with loud affection. They love in silence, but with stability, as if saying, "Be yourself, and I'll still be here." Loving a middle-aged Sagittarius means having a life partner, not just someone to hold your hand, but to learn with you, open your heart, and grow spiritually together. They will pull you out of the small boxes built by fear. They will remind you of who you used to be, on the days you forget your own worth. That is a blessing. A love that is no longer a game, but a grounding presence. Not just romance, but a union of two souls who have chosen each other, after everything. If you're loving a middle-aged Sagittarius, know that you're holding one of the most beautiful souls the universe has ever created. Don't lose them. Don't take their freedom lightly. And most of all, never make them love in silence. Because when a Sagittarius loves at this age, they love with everything left after the storms. And that love is a miracle. 7 Mystical Astrology. Symbols that help Sagittarius attract love. The universe doesn't speak only through words, but also through symbols, colors, sounds, and energy. For middle-aged Sagittarius, those who have journeyed through many layers of emotion, these symbols are more than decoration. They are invisible bridges that help reconnect with love, heal old wounds, and attract deep, mature relationships. 1. Lucky colors: blue, lavender, deep red. Blue represents sincerity, peace, and understanding. When Sagittarius wears blue, they attract those who listen and value emotional depth. Lavender is the color of spiritual healing. It helps Sagittarius release anxiety, open the heart, and receive love in a healthier way. Deep red, not flashy, not loud, brings emotional stability. This is the ideal color for Sagittarius seeking to build long-lasting, steady love. 2. Healing crystals: amethyst, turquoise. Amethyst helps open the crown chakra, connecting Sagittarius with higher wisdom, so they can love with both heart and intuition. It also supports deep sleep, where messages from the subconscious can be revealed. Turquoise, the stone of honest communication. For Sagittarius, who often hides their true emotions, this stone helps them open up safely and naturally, to stop loving in silence. 3. Power Day, Thursday. In astrology, Thursday is ruled by Jupiter, Sagittarius's guiding planet. It is a day full of expanding energy, luck, and maturity. On Thursdays, Sagittarius should write in a journal, send a loving message to someone they care about, or simply spend time with themselves to recharge their soul. The universe listens when you act with sincerity. 4. Love opening ritual. Each morning, stand in front of the mirror and say, "I am love, I deserve to be loved and to love fully." Repeat this for 21 days. You will begin to notice gentle yet profound shifts in your relationships. If you are a Sagittarius on the journey to reconnect with love, try choosing a color, a crystal, or a ritual, and perform it as a sacred commitment to your heart. The universe does not care if it is big or small. What it sees is that you are ready. Final message from the astrologer. If you're still listening to these words, perhaps a part of your heart has already been awakened. A part that was once forgotten. A part that has quietly waited for something gentle and truly meant for you. And if you are a Sagittarius, I want you to know, middle age is not the end. It is a new season, where the flowers of wisdom, understanding, and real love begin to bloom. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to keep going farther to find meaning. Because sometimes, what you've been searching for is simply the feeling of being loved, unconditionally, patiently, and without needing to prove anything. Love for a middle-aged Sagittarius is not fireworks. It is a warm flame in cold nights. A soft exhale when you finally realize, at last, I can just be myself, and still be loved. And if you believe that, if you're ready to open your heart one more time, right below this video, as a promise to yourself and the universe, I am ready to receive true love for the rest of my life. Commenting is not just an affirmation. It is how you send a signal to the energies silently supporting you, from dimensions beyond what the eyes can see. If these words touched you, if something about this feels right, feels deep, give this video a like, and share it with someone you love. Because the energy you give, the universe will return to you, in ways you never expected. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And love is still waiting for you at the end of the path, gently, kindly, and right on time.